Trump admin releases $5 billion in school funding after months of freeze. Key details. Imagine the chaos if your school budget suddenly vanished, threatening to cut vital programs and staff just as the new academic year loomed. That's precisely what happened under the Trump administration, when nearly $7 billion in funding intended for public schools was unexpectedly put on hold. But here's where it gets controversial. This freeze wasn't just a bureaucratic snafu. It was a deliberate move by the administration to scrutinize how the money was being used, sparking outrage and legal battles across the country. On June 30th, 2025, the Education Department announced that $7 billion in funding would be reviewed to ensure it aligned with President Donald Trump's priorities. This freeze affected 6 critical grant programs, including those supporting English language learners, teacher training, and academic enrichment activities. The Office of Management and Budget, OMB, even suggested investigating whether the fund had been used for a radical left-wing agenda, a claim that drew widespread criticism. School leaders and lawmakers from both parties scrambled to pressure the administration to release the funds. Representative Don Bacon, Nebraska, took to social media to confirm that the money had finally been freed, tweeting, "Exciting news to announce! All frozen education funding for the upcoming school year has been released." This relief came after weeks of anxiety and uncertainty, during which many districts faced the possibility of drastic cuts. The administration assured everyone that guardrails would be implemented to prevent misuse of the funds, though the specifics of these measures remained unclear. Meanwhile, the release of $1.3 billion of after-school and summer programs offered some immediate relief, but the full restoration of funding was still a work in progress. Public education advocates were quick to praise the release, but harshly criticized the initial freeze. Senator Patty Murray, D. Washington, summed it up perfectly. This administration deserves no credit for just barely averting a crisis they themselves set in motion. You don't thank a burglar for returning your cash after you've spent a month figuring out if you'd have to sell your house to make up the difference. The freeze was just one in a series of moves by the Trump administration to reshape federal support for K-12 education. Since taking office, Trump had directed efforts to dismantle the Education Department and transfer some of its responsibilities to other agencies. This included cancelling billions in grants and contracts and reducing the department's workforce by half. Critics argued that these actions undermined the very institutions designed to support student learning. At the National Governors Association summer meeting in Colorado Springs, Education Secretary Linda McMahon defended the freeze as part of a transition process. She explained that it took time for the OMB to review all programs before releasing the funds. "We wouldn't want to find ourselves in the same situation a year from now," she said, emphasizing the need for thorough scrutiny. However, the administration's actions sparked legal challenges. A group of 24 states and the District of Columbia filed a lawsuit, arguing that the freeze violated the Constitution and federal law. Another lawsuit was filed by school districts, parents, teachers' unions, and non-profits, further complicating the situation. The impact on schools was profound. According to a survey conducted by the School Superintendents Association, AASA, nearly 3/4 of superintendents reported that they would have to eliminate academic services if the funding were restored. 85% of respondents had contracts that depended on the funds, and half said they would have to lay off staff, including those working with English language learners and special education students. In Marshalltown, Iowa, Superintendent Ferren Schutte described the potential consequences of losing the funding. His district, which served a large number of English language learners due to a nearby pork plant attracting mivids, faced significant budget cuts. Programs like summer swim lessons, initiated after several drownings, were at risk. As the dust settles on this controversy, one question remains. How can we prevent such disruptions in the future? Should federal education funding be more tightly controlled, or do these actions risk undermining the very support systems schools need to thrive? Your thoughts on this matter would be valuable to hear.